What's up, world? This is Balti Mega, aka Zachary Joseph. Excuse me for hitting the mic. This is my first time trying to attempt to do something like this. It might be a little rough. I'm just looking at my stream here, and I don't know if my words are sinking to my lips like that, but you're not here to look at my face. I need to shape up a little bit and shave all this off. But just to get into it, welcome to my YouTube channel. I'm working on building this thing up. And today we are going to look at the similarities and differences between the SP404SX and the Novation circuit rhythm. Now, when the rhythm was announced, people were looking at it to be a SP404 killer. So we will see if that is the case. So these two devices are basically they kind of serve the same purpose. So they are samplers. Basically, let me adjust this real quick. So basically, the idea with each device is that you will find sounds to put into them, and you can mix and mangle them in different ways, and sequence and kind of create your own tracks, your own little beats, and figure out how to export them. But they do this in different ways. So starting off, the Roland SP404SX uses an SD card, full-size SD card up to 32 gigabytes. The circuit rhythm uses a micro SD card up to 32 gigabytes. However, certain brands don't work, and they do have a list of brands on their website, but I did try one and that didn't work. So I would recommend going to the Novation Circuit subreddit and look at the conversation there, where people are kind of describing which brands work for them and which didn't. That helped me a lot. I forget which brand I'm using here, and I don't want to pop it out now just because I have this session going on. Now, the way that the storage is used on these devices is totally different. So first off, let's look at input sources. So the SP404 definitely wins hands down with that. So we have a mic in, so you can plug in a dynamic microphone, and you probably can't see it. Let me just move this here. I have a lot going on in this desk off camera. I apologize, but you can plug in a 1/4 inch mic here. So you can plug in any dynamic mic like a Shure SM5758 or whatever you have. Also has a built-in microphone, which is really cool. You can do weird experimental stuff. Sometimes I might sample in like a kalimba or something in here just to mess with it, or just little toy instruments. You get some interesting effects out of that when you start to do your sound design on this. This is also an amazing sound design device, which we'll get into a little bit later. But yeah, we have this microphone here. So if I wanted to, let me just make sure my auto trig level is on 1. It is. So let's say, let me go to a different bank here. I wanted to record something in here. I can go check, testing 1 2 3. I don't know if I did that right. So, oops, I don't think I did that right. So I did. So yeah, turn that off. You can record directly into this device through the mic input, and then you have the line in the back. And the line in uses RCA. Let me turn off the external source real quick. Uses RCA inputs, so you can plug in any type of device to sample into it, any type of line level device. So you can use the turntables, you can hook up a phone. You just need to have the proper cables to do it, or the proper cables and adapter combinations. Now, the rhythm, you can only sample in through the line in. It uses a quarter-inch jacks for that, one for the left, one for the right. It's much quieter. So when I hit the external source here, you can kind of hear that noise. The SP is a lo-fi device, and you will get some background noise and hiss. Excuse me. Sometimes that works for the character of certain types of music. So if you're doing like lo-fi hip hop or house, that works great for that. Sometimes not so much for other things. I find that the inputs on the rhythm are much cleaner, but you don't have as much capability for different input sources. So this is a good all-around device for that. Now, both of these devices use battery power, so you can take them on the go with you. The Rhythm has an internal battery, which they claim will give you up to 4 hours of charge time, and it charges up through USB-C, which is great. Only thing is, we'll see what happens over time. You know how these internal batteries are. The SP404SX uses 6 AA's, runs through them pretty quick. However, you get yourself some rechargeable batteries, and you're good to go. The replaceable batteries can be annoying, but I know that I'll be able to, always switch them in and out pretty easily. And this thing you can use as a field recorder, to be honest. With the 32 gigs, you get amazing amount of sample time. You can use the built-in mic. You can plug in a mic, take it out with you, record ambiance anywhere. You can also use this just as a recorder for your other devices. So I have it at the end of my signal chain for my DAW-less setup that I have here. You can only see these 2 devices here on my desk, but you can kind of see the tracks off to here. And I have a couple Volcas and other little devices, pocket operators and things. So I usually have this at the end. And if I'm not recording directly into the computer, I can just hit record, sample as long as I want onto one of these pads. Now, even though you have 32 gigabytes of storage on the Rhythm, you can't just record as long as you want onto a pad. So basically the way the sound is, or the way the storage is broken up into packs and projects. So, and each pack has a limited number of, or a limited amount of sample time total for all the samples that you have in a pack, and then all the different projects that you have in that pack is going to use those samples. So if you you can run out of space on a pack, and then you can go to another pack and use different sounds. Another issue is, even though you may not fill up the space on a pack, you only get a limited amount of sample time per pad. So you can't just record infinite, an infinite long loop. Generally, I find that it's enough for me when I'm making a beat to be able to sample, as much as I want on a particular pad. And it has a cool way of kind of lazy chopping on the input, which I'll get into later. I don't want this video to be too long. So, just know that with the SP404SX, you can record pretty much as long as you want onto a pad. With the Rhythm, you can't, even though you might have the same amount of space with both. So the SP kind of wins with that. It's way more versatile. Another thing that the SP wins with is that you can record mono or stereo. Here's my stereo button. You can record mono or stereo samples, whereas even though you have a stereo input, it's going to sum to mono when you record. And the other way that you can get sounds onto both of these devices is through the computer. So you can just with the SP, it's a lot easier and you have more options. So you can drag into the SD card folder, and then once you put it back in here, you can hit input and or import, I'm sorry. So that'll be function number 3. Once you hit function number 3, you can import the sounds into your folder. Well, it'll input it in a way that is going to go into the correct banks here. And there's also software that Roland uses that hasn't been updated in probably 15 years, which isn't great. But there's a new software that somebody developed, which actually is great. Don't know the name of it, but if you go to the SP404 subreddit, they have it pinned to the top there. And that basically, you can lay out your samples. You can drag them in from your DAW. In most cases, I use FL Studio, so I can just drag from my FL Studio browser into the into that software. You can actually time stretch and set the tempo, and then you can set it so that it'll send it to the SD card in a way that it's going to be perfect when you put the SD card back into the SP. The circuit rhythm, the only way that you can get sounds from the computer, you can't just drag it onto the SD card. You have to use Novation component software, and you use that software across a variety of devices. So I use that software with my rhythm, with my circuit tracks, with my Novation Launch Key Mini MK3, and my OG circuit. But basically, with the rhythm, you can drag your sounds and send them. It is a bit slow, but Novation is great about updating their products. So they did do an update that makes it a bit faster. On the components also, and we'll get into the effects. So basically, when it comes to getting sounds into these devices, the SP wins hands down. It gives you more options. You have stereo or mono, and it's just way more versatile when it comes to that. Now the Novation component software is what you also use to set your grid effects. So basically, you have different effects, and I'll play the beat that I have up here. This Baltimore club music type joint. Let's see, why is it not playing through here? Oh, hold on. Oh, because I don't have it. Okay, so you hear the beat. Turn it down a little bit. So I have my grid effects. So this is really cool, the way that they have the grid effects laid out. So you have so these are the default effects. I do have other packs that I set up where I actually did change the settings. But you have your beat repeats, you have gates, you have phasers, you have a reverse, and you have vinyl sim. You also have other ones that aren't on here. So I think there's a bit crush, and there's a couple other ones like chorus, maybe a flange, your standard effects like that. The only thing is that you can't change the parameters of these on the device. So you have to do it in the component software and then send it. So if, and it's per pack. So, with the SP, so I can just, let's say I have the DJ effects looper. I can manipulate it. And then if I want the reverb, so yeah, I have hands-on control right here on the device, which I don't have here for these effects. Now, for other effects, you do. So you have 8 tracks, and each track you have things like you have a low pass and a high pass filter. Unfortunately, you don't have an EQ. What you have here, you kind of EQ messing with the low pass filter, high pass filter, and resonance for your sound design purposes, but SP is kind of killing it with the isolator and the EQ on here for resampling those EQ effects, especially when it comes to like designing drums and things like that. You have distortion. This right here is great. Your distortion On a lower setting, it's more of a saturator, and then you can really crank it and get a really distorted, harsh sound. Your slope is going to be pretty much your decay and release. And then you have your start and end point, so you can kind of chop the sample right here. And you have tune. You have a great pitch shifter, which the one on the SP sucks. And it's also chromatic, so if you hold shift and turn this, it'll change it in a way that the frequency is going to match up to, you know, the intervals that we have in the Western scale of music that we, you know, tend to use. So overall with effects, the SP wins again, with a few caveats. Another thing too is the reverb and the delay are master, or they're global. So basically you can't change the parameters of any of these. They have presets, which are really cool presets. So you have 8 reverb presets, 16 delay, and then you can just change the wet and the dry per track with the knobs here. And here you have way more control over the reverb and delay. And of course, these effects will be stereo coming out, but then if you resample back into it, just be mindful that it will be mono. And also you cannot affect incoming audio with the reverb and delay. On the SP, you can affect anything, any incoming audio with any of these effects here, any of the effects here, and I believe also with the lo-fi. Yeah. So this pretty much is killing it with the effects as well, and sound design. I'm just going to keep this short. I'm not really trying to go into too much demonstrations. I'm just giving a quick overview. The master filter is really cool. It's basically, you can kind of do the same thing with the filter and drive, but it's kind of weird when you switch effects here on the SP. You have to be very careful, because depending on, you know, these aren't endless encoders, like how it is on the circuit. So sometimes, sometimes if I want to do a quick sweep, it's not going to be on the setting where I want it. But I have this master filter, and it has a click right here in the middle. You know, you can kind of feel when it's going to be at unity. So that's a really cool thing with the rhythm as well. It's the same thing on the tracks too. Now, it seems like I'm touting the SP so much more. I'm giving it all these points over the rhythm, but where the rhythm really shines is in the sequencer, and also the fact that you can play samples chromatically. So here you can hear I have these horns. This is a stock horn sample that came with the rhythm, but you know, I can set it to note. I don't know which, that's a kick. I don't know which one I had the horns on. Okay, there's a horn. So if I go to note, I can play these on a scale, whereas this represents a keyboard from your low C to your high C, and then you can change your octaves. So it plays samples chromatically, whereas the SP cannot. That is a game changer. Unfortunately, you can't, there's no polyphony on a track, so you can only play single notes. However, you know, you can be very creative, and like you can set different notes to different tracks here. You know, so I can set a horn on 5, 6, 7, and 8, create a 4-note chord, resample it, and then use that chord and play it chromatically again. So, you know, there's different workarounds and different workflows with the rhythm that can allow you to create some really, really cool, you know, come up with some really cool results. Same thing with the SP. You know, the SP is you know, is made in a certain type of way that's going to make you do certain workarounds to where Sorry for all that noise in the background, but yeah, it has different quirks with the workflow that can lead to different outcomes, and different creative sounds that you might not have gotten anywhere else. So you have the chromatic sample pitching, and then you also just have the sequencer. So the sequencer, I'm not going to get too deep into it, but compared to the rudimentary sequencer on here, you can sequence all these different tracks. You can have up to 32 steps per track, but you can set the speed to the different tracks to be slower, so you can kind of get more out of each track if you want. It has you can change the gate per step. You can do micro steps, so you can do like little triplet hi-hat things. You can change the velocities. You can just program it all in, but it's also touch sensitive. These pads on the SP are not touch sensitive. However, you can hook up a touch sensitive MIDI controller or sequencer and sequence this externally. What I found myself doing a lot with the OG circuit, I would use the OG circuit and the SP kind of the same way I use the tracks and the rhythm, where I would do all my chops here and my sound design here, and then I would sequence it using the circuit, and then that way I wouldn't have to use the sequencer here. And also you can't resample the sequencer here. Here you can make a sequence, you can resample it as a loop, and then kind of sample yourself, and you can do some really cool stuff with that. So in terms of workflow, making actual music that you can actually use, and then the sound coming in and out, with the 1/4 inch jacks versus the RCA, the Novation circuit rhythm wins hands down. So the effects are not as good, but they're still usable. The mono sample thing is gonna, dissuade a lot of people, but it's not so bad. The ability to not be able to play chords is going to dissuade some people, but it's not so bad. You can't even really do that here. Well, I guess you can if you set different notes to different pads. Pads feeling are cool. You can see I put in my custom fat pads from npcstuff.com here. The customization that you can do with these is just tremendous. Excuse me. I'm going to put like a different faceplate skin. You can see I have the gold caps here. These knobs actually suck. They're like plasticky and they kind of mess up. I need to get some new ones. I have some rubber ones that I got that are really good from DJ Tech Tools, but they didn't match the theme that I have going on here with the gold. So I'm going to have to figure something out with some rubberized gold knobs here. But for somebody just looking to get in and make some beats real quick, I would recommend the Rhythm, to be honest. As much as I love the SP, and as much more creative sound design that you can do, if you're just trying to pick something up, make some beats, go with the Rhythm. Using them both together is great. If you want to do other things, so if you're trying to create sounds, like if I was to make a sound pack, I would use the SP. You can pretty much do a lot of the things that you can do on the DAW with it. Oh yeah, another thing, chopping samples is a lot easier with the Rhythm. It's a process with the SP. Of course, that process allows you to be more intimate with the music, but chopping up samples way easier with the Rhythm. Just the workflow in general, Novation really did their thing with this. To be honest, this is probably one of the best hardware purchases that I've made. No shade to the SP, because I do love the SP. It's just not the best for making beats. You can be very creative with it though, and more loose. So I will say, with the resample method of making beats, you can look that up. A lot of people probably have video. Well, they do have videos of it online. You can kind of just do anything and kind of be free with it and kind of figure it out. I wouldn't necessarily do that as a beginner. This, you're more stuck in an actual system of making things, a specified workflow. It's going to be best for beginners and best for people who are just trying to get information down, not information, but get music down really quickly. So yeah, it's just a quick overview. Let me know if you want some tutorials or anything on either device. And let me know what you want to see going forward on the YouTube channel. We're going to keep this thing going. This is my first time in a video like this. I'm kind of just going off the head. I did try this a few times, and this is a bit longer than what I wanted it to be. And there's all kind of noise in the background I can't really do anything about. But let me know what you think. Like, subscribe, comment, and check out Baltimega on every social site, every streaming service. Check all the links in the description. And I am out.